Dachu lives with his mom on Yunmun land in an illusory world where almost all humans possess magical abilities. As usual, there were constant fights between the forces of good and evil. These ongoing conflicts were put to an end after the great battle that happened 10 years ago. The forces of light defeated the Dark Prince, the leader of those who use magic for evil purposes. Rumor had it that he had still managed to survive the battle and was hiding out while planning his revenge. The Heavenly Academy, which trains students to become masters in the art of magic, scheduled their entrance exam much earlier than usual. They were beginning to worry about the looming threat of evil and plan to train and prepare their students to be fight-ready as soon as possible. Dogchu is part of the Mawu clan, which constantly rivals the Taiwu clan. He happens to be one of the very few people born without magical powers, making him kind of a loser in this world. Even though he lacked the most important thing to be a leader of the Taiwu clan, he still aspires to somehow become the Prince of Light so he could fight all evil. His plan is to get into the reputed Magic Academy to learn the skills necessary to become a fighter. He works at his mother's restaurant, helping out with serving and cleaning, but he often spends his time narrating different tales about the village's past with added flair and drama. He claims to be the descendant of one of the heroes from the Great Battle. His mother always interrupts these stories and yells at him to get back to work. However, this time, his best friend arrives at the restaurant and starts calling out his lies. He announces his friend's lack of magical powers, causing everyone to laugh at Dachu, so his mother hits him with a spoon and sends him away on delivery errands. The two friends leave together and discuss the upcoming entrance exam while walking down the dark street. White Chicken has been studying for months under 13 different Yunmun masters. He has no interest in actually joining the academy, but is being forced by his parents. Different world and yet the same story of the Asian household. When he tells him about his plans to appear for the exam, he calls him stupid and tells him about the seriousness of the assessment and the dangers that accompany it. Only the best Yunmun magic users were selected, and almost 30% of participants were killed off in each round. Without any magic, Dachu had almost no chance of making it through even the first round. While they are arguing with each other, they see Yunmun guards chasing a person, speeding past them. He takes this opportunity to prove his worth and runs after them into the forest, which he is very familiar with after having spent his whole childhood playing there. He hangs off the side of a tree and sees the three men in black and assumes them to be evil spies from the Mawu clan. They disappear into the darkness. He tries to look for them, but instead is led to a beautiful girl by a swarm of fireflies. She is seated on top of green vines and has a radiant green light around her. He is unaware that she is the evil spy and rushes to her. The three men who are Yunmun guards arrive there to arrest her, but before they can do anything, he charges across the ground and sets off the traps that she had laid down. The vine picks him up and throws him onto her, spoiling her attack. The men try to explain that they are part of the Taiwu fighters and that she was evil, but he does not listen to them and goes on with his own useless speech about protecting the weak girl. Since he is a citizen, they have to protect him and cannot cast any spells in their direction. They hear a loud roar, and when he turns around, he sees a giant demon plant which she had summoned to attack them, before running into the forest. The plant stabs the guards and chases after Dogchu and pushes him to the ground. He suddenly hears another demonic voice talking to him and asking if he wants powers. He accepts and is filled with demon powers which he uses to slay the monster before falling to the ground. Meanwhile, the girl, Ru, escapes back into the forest and is stopped by another member of the Mawu clan. It's a crow-blood demon and inquires about her findings on the Taiwu clan. She informs him that they have increased their security for the upcoming entrance exam, which means they must be expecting someone important to join them. The crowman assigns her the new task of disguising herself as a boy, infiltrating the exam and destroying it from within. He gives her a special cloak to change her appearance and sends her on her way. Dogchu wakes up the next day in his own bed. His mom throws a pan at him and yells at him for messing up the delivery the previous night. She had to go out alone searching for him, only to find him asleep in the middle of the forest. He gets a good scolding and beating from her. Before leaving, she tells him to get up and get ready quickly, as she had arranged a blind date for him. He runs after her and slips down the stairs. When he stands back up, he tells her of his intentions to participate in the entrance exams, but she completely objects to it. When he continues arguing with her, catches him and ties him upside down on a pillar. She leaves the house to go and buy food to offer to the family that would be coming to see him. He cries and struggles to get out of the ropes, but it is of no use. The doors open again and his eyes light up, thinking his mother has changed her mind and come back for him. But when he looks up, he sees a tall man wearing a dress standing at the doorway. He has bright red lipstick on and claims to be Dogchu's date. When he refuses him, he picks him up with the pillar and starts pretending to kiss him. He sees his friend White Chicken at the door, crying with laughter over his little prank. After he is done teasing him, they rush out to sign up for the exam. As they run down the street, they bump into Rue, the Mowu spy who is in the boy form. He gets up angrily and seals the gate with a vine to try and stop Dogchu from participating in it. They manage to find another way in and he starts fighting with him, but White Chicken pulls him away so they can register before the time is up. The Yudmans gather around a teacher and listen to the instructions for the exam. The test is for the psychic division of the Tiwu Academy. The first 2 rounds will be conducted externally and there are individual fields. For the 3rd round, they would return to the academy. After clearing all 3 rounds, the participants would be given the basic Yudaman Master Certificate, which is the first step to becoming a professional Yudaman fighter. The 2 friends scan the room to check out all the other participants. Many of them were reputed citizens who had been training for years under Yudaman masters and had already learned a number of magical skills and abilities. Their constant chattering draws the attention of the teacher who scolds them, while others recognize him as the restaurant owner's son who spent his evenings narrating stories. They start laughing at him, but the teacher asks them to remain quiet. She then announces that only the first 200 people to complete the tasks would pass the exam and the rest would be sent home. A portal to the exam forest opens up and everyone goes wild and crazy, pushing each other to make way for themselves. Rue casts a spell and trips Dogchu to try and stop him from entering the portal, but his friend helps him up and they run into it just in time. They must now find a monster to defeat and take it to the teachers. White Chicken goes his own way to find a monster. Dogchu is able to sniff out the creatures, but is unable to capture any of them as they keep running away when he approaches. He throws a tantrum in the middle of nowhere when suddenly he sees a crowd running in his direction. Behind them, a giant tiger comes charging towards them and stops in front of him. It bared its razor-sharp teeth in front of him and roared loudly, but quickly shut its mouth when it saw the star sign on his back. The symbol frightened it, and Dogchu was left confused and irritated when it ran away. As he lies on the ground, screaming and crying about not being able to find a monster, Xia, a girl with pink hair, approaches him and offers to help with his wounds. She uses magic to heal the wounds and asks if it was true that he really wanted to be the next leader of the Yuan clan. Their conversation is cut short by Xiang, who calls her to help out with her team and tells her not to hang out with such people. He hears the announcement over the speakers. 191 students had passed the exam and only 9 spots were left. He would have to come up with a plan as quickly as possible or else would have to accept his fate and return back to his boring life at home where his mother was preparing to marry him off. Since all of the monsters were running away from him after seeing the demon's mark on his back, he decided to set up a fake person at the end of a road. When the tiger realized it was fake, it turned to the other road where Dogchu lay waiting. His scent triggered the monster and sent it running the other way straight into the trap that had been set up. Once the tiger had fallen into it, he used a big rock to knock him out and tie it up, so he could drag it back to the portal. White Chicken had completed the round and was anxiously waiting for him outside. The allotted time was almost over and the teachers began closing the portal to end the exam when they heard him screaming, "Wait!" He ran out of the portal at the very last minute while holding onto the rope, but when he turned to show the giant tiger he had captured, he was shocked to see a small fluffy animal in its place. Once again, he ended up being a laughing stock. The teacher noticed a green light coming from around the animal. She realized it was an enchantment spell, and that there was a spy among them, since it was evil magic. Even though the other students protested and asked for him to be disqualified, she declared that he had passed the round and that they would investigate the matter with the tiger later. Rue's plan to get him kicked out of the exam had failed once again, and he now planned to be more violent with him. The teachers opened another portal and led them to the second round, which was to take place on an ancient bridge. The purpose of this round was to test their abilities, and the first 50 students to reach the other side of the bridge before dawn would pass the round. Many of the students hurried onto the bridge as soon as the round began without much thinking and then soon vanished into the fog. The rest of the students waited for the teacher to leave and then followed her, but they soon lost track as she moved too quickly. As they ran across, they found a bunch of the students who ran first passed out on the bridge. Rue saw strange dog-like creatures with tentacles instead of legs creeping towards him. He used his magic to defend himself and fling them away. The creatures were dependent on the sense of hearing and moved according to sound, which he planned to use to sabotage Dogchu. The rest of them also reach the middle of the bridge and are faced with hundreds of the creatures. Xia and her group cast a protective barrier around themselves. While the 2 friends hit the creatures with knives, she soon realizes that they only attack when a noise is made, so they get down on their knees and crawl through the swarms without making a sound. The plan works perfectly well until a huge green star appears above them and a giant tentacle creature erupts from the bridge. They try to stay silent and crawl past the giant, but it does not work and one of the students takes a direct hit. The 3 of them cast the protective barrier again and White Chicken throws his knives at it, but it does no damage and only angers it more. Xia and Chaihong combine their powers to strike the monster, but are unsuccessful. It summons a giant spell, turning everyone into stone except the two of them who were protected by the shield. It grabs them and tries to suffocate them by wrapping its tentacle around their body. Dogshu passes out for a second, and when he wakes up, he finds himself floating in another realm. The same demon voice that he encountered at the forest speaks to him again from behind a giant magical seal. The demon tells him that his powers were sealed into his body by people many years ago. If he helped to break the seal, he would be given great power to help out his friends on the bridge. All he has to do is touch the seal and release the demon. He almost does as he says, but stops and questions if there were any tricks involved. The demon shows him the real power he could hold, and that was enough to convince him to touch the seal. With the newly acquired power, he frees himself from the giant and destroys his body. Unfortunately, the demon he had just released was the Demon King, the Dark Prince, who now possessed his body. He absorbed the soul pearl from the fallen monster, then targeted Xia next. She tries to fight back, but is no match for the demon's power. The teachers see a huge explosion take place on the bridge and realize something has gone wrong. They arrive just in time, and the head of the academy hits Dogshu's body with a spell to seal the Demon King back. They then erase the memories of both the students and plan to keep a better watch on him. Since the giant creature had been slain, the stone spell on the students was reversed, and they started coming back to life, confused at when it just happened. They see Dogshu and Xia passed out together with his clothes missing. White Chicken leans over his friend to check on him. He wakes up with a start and bumps his head into his. He has no memory of what happened on the bridge and wonders where his clothes were. Xia's partner, Chaihong, walks up to him and challenges him to a fight for messing with his girl, but they say it was all a misunderstanding and that nothing as such had occurred. Their argument is interrupted by the teacher. She informs them that the appearance of the giant creature on the bridge was not part of the test, and since such a terrifying incident had taken place, the board had decided to allow all the students to clear the round and enter the academy. They would be conducting further investigations as they suspected the Mowu of stirring up trouble. Dogshu is questioned again about the tiger and is then allowed to pass both rounds. The students rejoice as they are shown a special portal that leads to the prestigious Taiwu Academy for Yunmen Masters. Ru is annoyed that even after so many attempts to sabotage Dogshu, he was still alive and well. As they enter the academy, they are mesmerized by the beautiful sight in front of them. A magnificent tree with luscious green leaves stood tall and housed the different structures of the academy. Behind it lay ranges of mountains with a vibrant blue sky over it. During the Great Battle, the academy and the Tiwu Temple were completely destroyed by the enemy. After they won the war, they rebuilt it with layers of ancient magic and transported the most talented people to study magic and defend the land, making it one of the safest places on the continent. She takes them to their rooms, which look worse than a prison cell, and when the students try to protest, they are silenced. A new teacher, Yin, is assigned to look after them. He is a peculiar little yellow man with an odd personality. He catches one of the students giggling during his instructions, and to teach him a lesson, he gives him a beating. This scares the other students, and they follow the rest of his instructions without any hesitation. He is a master of reading minds, and before sending them off to their rooms, he calls out several different thoughts and embarrasses the students. With this one trick, he was able to establish absolute dominance over them. Within no time, White Chicken manages to cause trouble by accidentally breaking another girl's door. He drags Dogshu out of his room to help him with the situation, and in the hurry to leave, they slam the door, causing the number 6 to turn. Ru, who was assigned room 9, sees the number and enters the empty room, not knowing that it belonged to his enemy. They are walking through a cave to find a replacement for the door when he feels his stomach get upset, and so he decides to rush back to the room. Ru has taken off the magical cloak and transformed back into a girl. When he enters the room, he is stunned to find the girl from the forest sitting in his tub. Before he can say anything, she strikes him with the vine and lets a wooden plank fall onto his head, so she could run away without being seen by anyone. He wakes up the next day to find his room completely destroyed. He is late for the morning gathering and has to get up and rush there, or else he would be disqualified from the final round of the exam. He reaches 5 minutes late, but the teacher lets him join the group. The final round of the exam was a battle of coins that would last 8 hours. Each student was allotted bags at random that contained different quantities of coins. The aim for each student was to collect as many coins as possible by hook or by crook. The ones that managed to collect 1,000 coins by the end of the exam time would be granted final entry into the academy to become Yunmen Masters. There were no rules for the round, except that when a player was in the safe zone, they would be protected for 15 minutes, and no one could harm them. The students opened their bags while some were stuck with just 1 or 2 coins. Meg received 100 or more, but Dogshu was the luckiest and got 2,000 coins in his bag. Like an idiot, he announced this loudly, which caused everyone to start chasing him down to defeat him and collect his coins for themselves. With no way to outrun such a huge crowd, he decides to throw most of his money behind him so he can run away to a safe place. They stop chasing him, and he almost makes it to the assigned safe zone with just 100 coins remaining, but gets stopped by a bunch of alumni from the academy. He tries to tell them he lost all his money, but they call him a liar and attack him. His demon powers are activated, and he is able to dodge all their attacks and strike them back, leaving them shocked. Even when the three of them attack together, he moves faster than them, but his overconfidence causes him to fall back into the pit. Rue finds them and uses his vines to capture them and take away all of their coins. Dogchu breaks out of the vines and chases after him, but ends up running into White Chicken, who had just managed to collect his 1,000 coins from an old man. They hear a huge explosion nearby and go to investigate it, unaware that several more members of the Mo-Wu clan had infiltrated the exam and were blasting each student to find whose body the Demon King had woken up in. When they reach the site, they see Xia lifted in the air and her powers being sucked out from her. Even Xiang, a strong fighter, was unable to stop the evil team. Instead of running away and saving themselves, he steps out of the bush and yells at them. His attack fails, and White Chicken throws a few minor bombs at them, giving them enough time to pick up their friends and run towards the safe zone. His pet from the forest manages to steal a pink pearl from the evil man and flies after them. Just before they reach the safe zone, she uses her powers to paralyze them, and he throws his grenades and them. With his demon powers, he is able to break out of her hold and move away from the attack. He throws even more bombs at them, but he is able to kick them all away and strike him back. Enraged by this, the evil man summons 4 of his strongest explosives and aims at them. Dogchu gets up and jumps to protect his friends, which knocks the pearl out of the pet's mouth and hits his back. The pearl sends his soul to another realm where he faces the purple dragon who is about to devour him, but the Demon King from behind the seal stops the dragon. He plans to use his body to enter back into the world and destroy the Taiwu clan, so he instructs it to protect him from harm and then sends him back to the mortal realm. Before the explosives hit, he's able to form a barrier around them and deflect the attack. He wakes up and sees his clothes have been changed into dragon clothes. The purple dragon demon tells him he has been granted special powers along with invincibility, which would save him from any attack, but he could only use these once every 12 hours. The Mo-Wu clan members realize he is the one they had been looking for to release the Demon King. They try to attack him again and are stopped by the little yellow teacher. They decide to leave for now and plan their ambush carefully before capturing the boy and releasing their leader. Rue has collected his share of coins and so had many other students. With only 5 minutes remaining in the exam, Dogchu had no coins with him and could possibly fail. The exam ends and the students gather inside a cave. Whoever has succeeded at collecting 1,000 coins must place it into the mouth of the magical door. It would then allow them to enter before declaring their human color and strength. The first person to enter receives a pure black color, making him one of the strongest fighters. Rue follows next and has collected over 2,000 coins. He receives a light green color and hides his true nature with a magic cloak. Xia and Xiang also manage to collect the coins and enter, and finally White Chicken walks into the door and receives the color yellow, which happens to be the weakest of all. Dogchu cries in disappointment about not being able to collect the coins. He hears the voice of the purple dragon talking to him again. After defeating the 2 Mo-Wu fighters, he had pulled their spiritual cards and placed them on his belt. These cards had a much higher ranking than the normal coins. Dogchu is suspicious of the demon and initially refuses to use the spiritual coins, since if it didn't work, he would make a huge fool of himself. However, after hearing the teacher yell for any last entries, he agrees, walks up to the door slowly and places his 2 special coins on the door. It opens and grants him entry. When he exits again, his color is announced to be colorless, an extremely rare phenomenon in the academy. The students protest again and call him a cheater, saying the teachers keep helping him. They gather around him and start beating him, which triggers his demon powers and sends them flying back. This only irritates them more, and they continue beating him, but are stopped by the school's vice director. She tells them that the door is the fairest system of judgment and that anything it declared was considered the truth, since this is how all the teachers were selected. She welcomes the new members to the academy and warns them to avoid creating riots or violence, since it would not be tolerated. Rue is still confused about how Dogchu managed to stay alive after all the attacks. He goes to see the Crow Man, who tells him to retrieve a special artifact from the academy, which would help them release their Demon King. The 2 friends walk towards the academy. He is still upset about getting a warning before the classes even begin, but as soon as they see the academy, their moods are lightened up. The yellow teacher gathers the new class of 6 students outside the school and gives them all the necessary instructions. They select Lin to be their class representative and head into the building. They are taken through a portal to a galaxy land, where they can choose their human weapons based on their assigned colors. Dogchu, who is colorless, is sent to a tiny island with just one old hut on it. He sees fire spirits inside playing a betting game. They are surprised to see they have a visitor since almost no one gets colorless assigned to them. The last person to visit their island was the hero from the Great Battle, Yunmen Master Feng. He is excited to learn of this and asks to choose his own weapon, but they make him play dice with them before taking a weapon. He's had a lot of experience with the game and wins several rounds with them. They finally give up and allow him to choose his weapon, but again he must take a chance. Based on their reactions, he chooses one of the blue fires and disappointingly finds just a plain piece of wood in it. The other freshers had found weapons on their islands that best suited them and laughed at him after seeing what he had brought. They are sent back to their new rooms and Dogchu lies down crying over his useless weapon, wondering if he should have used his spiritual money to buy another one. All through the dorms, explosions are heard as the senior students of the academy raid the freshers' rooms. They are looking for new weapons and any cash that they can find. While the others are busy fighting off the seniors, Dogchu is faced again with the Mowu clan members, but Zhang, a high-ranking student, comes to his rescue. They stop their attack and save his weapon. He tells him to keep it safe as it could be used to deflect the enemy's attack during a battle. White Chicken and he discuss the fights while walking to their first class. The senior students who had raided the rooms were all part of the Pure Colors group and would bully and steal from others all the time. He had given away half his savings to them to save his weapon. As the class begins, the little yellow teacher asks everyone to take out the new weapons they had received, but most of them have lost theirs to the seniors. The few that saved their weapons included Rue, Lin, Dogchu, and White Chicken. The others were yelled at for losing theirs and not being strong enough fighters to defend something so basic. The teacher tells them to go and look for practice weapons they can use for the class. Zhang, the leader of the Pure Colors group, joins the class and challenges Rue and Lin to a fight since they had defeated the attackers the previous night. He is an extremely strong fighter and possesses special abilities, including the Udaman Mark, which protects him from many attacks. Kajang, the blue-haired boy, decides to try defeating the leader but gets knocked out with just one hit. Rue and Lin plan their attack and hit him from both sides. Zhang, the leader, is too powerful and deflects all of their attacks using multiple arms. Dogchu charges from behind, but the mark on his neck glows and throws him away. He channels the purple dragon from within and uses his second Udaman weapon, which acts like a power vacuum to suck up all of his magic. His cloak is lifted to reveal 2 extra sets of arms. The battle is brought to an end after the teacher steps in. The Udaman Masters of the Pure Colors clan scold him for losing a fight against newbies and bringing shame onto their group. They ask for the special rock that he had collected, and he soon realizes that it was lost from his cloak during the fight. He promises to return back soon after retrieving it from whoever had stolen it. The classes continue as usual, and they are tasked to divide themselves into groups of 2 to go through the forest and collect 8 special herbs for their medicine class. White Chicken gets dragged away by one of the students, leaving Dogchu to partner up with the mysterious Rue. Instead of working as a team, he ignores his advice and attempts to find the herbs alone. They split up, and almost immediately, Rue gets confused about which herb is right. He ends up falling off the branch and injuring his hand. His partner runs to him and helps with the wound before going back to collect the herbs. The time ends and all students present their collections. Rue has only managed to find 1 herb and is about to be failed when he runs in with a large sack of various different herbs. They get perfect grade for performing so well, and Rue is left blushing with embarrassment over his arrogance. The leader, Zhang, returns to the village square and captures Dogchu. He demands for the stone and punches him in the face when he says he has no clue what he is talking about. He threatens to beat him up, and instead of backing down, he challenges him to a fight. He secretly signals to his friend to call a teacher for his protection. She agrees to let them fight using their full power as long as they stop before the opponent is killed. The fight takes place on a special battleground, with a vast audience cheering them and the teacher present as a judge. As soon as it begins, Dogchu turns and runs away from the attacks. He is terrified of being hurt and knows that his opponent is a lot stronger than him. He calls on the purple dragon while running away like a coward. He tells him that the only way to activate his power is to stop and face the danger. After gathering all his strength and willpower, he pauses and turns around to face Zhang, and just as expected, his powers come alive when he is about to get sucker punched in the face. With his demon abilities, he dodges all the hits and strikes back. With his power in full force, a fierce battle rages on, and everyone is shocked and amazed at this sudden turn of events. The purple dragon helps him defend even the strongest magic by creating a golden barrier around him. Zhang quickly realizes that his source of power is coming from his warrior clothes, so he uses a move to take off his shirt. However, the power in the dragon clothes can only be wielded by the selected few people, and as soon as he touches it, he gets zapped up and passes out from an overload of energy. The pearl drops into his hand and Dogchu collects it and is declared the winner. As his reward, he is given Zhang's premium house, where he moves in along with White Chicken and Ruo. Ruo wants to keep a close eye on him and so demands that they share a room. He finds this odd, but does not get to protest it. To maintain privacy and separate their sides, he creates a wall made of vines in the middle of the room. Dogchu sits in his bed and inspects his weapon, which is almost completely broken. He suddenly finds a green stone and realizes it must be the one that his opponent was looking for. The wooden plank splits apart and reveals another similar stone. He watches in amazement as the two stones merge together to form a magical ball. Before he can look further into the matter, he hears his roommate wake up and quickly hides under the sheets. Rue jumps out of the window instead of leaving through the door. This suspicious behavior causes him to get out of bed and follow him. He realizes he is being followed and tries to run through the forest to lose him. His powers are weakened considerably under the cloak, and he falls down from exhaustion. In order to send a message to the Crow Man, he releases a blue butterfly from his hand. Lin watches from behind the trees to see what the boy in the cloak is up to but loses sight of him. He reports his findings back to the teacher and director of the academy. Rue gets up and takes off the cloak to lessen the burden on his body. Immediately, he transforms back into the girl and sits on top of a rock to use the green powers. Dogchu sees the light from a distance and recognizes it from the time he fought a demon plant in the forest. He runs towards it and sees the same girl sitting there when he approaches her. She faints and falls to the ground. He is scared to leave her alone and takes her back to his room. He is unsure how to deal with this weird situation when he sees the mark on her forehead glowing and reaches out to touch it. It takes him to another realm where he sees flames of fire all around him and a little girl standing in the midst of it. Before he can reach out to her, she wakes up and pushes him off the bed and onto the floor. He tries to explain that he was only trying to help her, but she freaks out over his behavior and ties him up with green vines. You would think this would be the biggest clue to finding out who she really is, but his dumb brain does not make the connection. She places a curse on him to prevent him from telling anyone about her or the visions he has seen and then disappears, leaving behind the necklace. White Chicken hears his screaming and comes to cut him out of the vines. The next day, he finds Xia and asks her if she has seen any new girl with long blue hair in the girl's dormitory, but when he tries to explain why his throat seizes up and he is unable to talk due to the curse. She uses her healing spell to help him but rushes back to class as she is afraid her partner, Xian, would be upset if he found her wasting time with him. Rue overhears their conversation and is worried about his identity being revealed. When he joins the rest of the students for their new task, Xian hands him a faulty map that leads him to an isolated place in the forest. He looks around and finds himself surrounded by the Pure Color seniors who are after his stones. He defeats them with his human powers but passes out himself due to excess strain on his body. While falling asleep, he sees a tall man in a mask standing above him. The man tells him the ball he had acquired from the two special stones was an ancient device that was created to unlock the spiritual powers inside oneself. There was also the key to finding one of the three holy weapons called the Bai Ling Wang, which is why the Pure Colors group was after it. However, they would be unable to find it in this space. He advises him to eat the stone to break the seal to his spiritual powers before the group attacks him. It works, and he destroys all the attackers with flaming hands and then faints again. His friends find him and bring him out of the forest while discussing whether to bring this to the attention of the teachers or not. As they are walking, a boulder comes flying their way and Rue pushes them out of harm's way. The human master of the Pure Colors group had come to fight Dogchu himself and collect the stone. He is the most powerful member of that group, and none of their attacks work on him. He quickly overpowers them with the rocks. Rue summons the vines from the ground and uses them to push through the rocks and strike him. The fight goes on, and after a long struggle, he's able to trap his legs and fling him away before saving Dogchu. Still, he returns on a floating boulder with the two evil members from the Mowu clan, who paralyze the three of them, steals the magical device and toss it to him. He laughs in an evil manner and plans to overthrow the director of the academy and become the new leader of the Teiwu clan. Just as all hope is lost, the three of them prepare to face their end as the rocks come hurtling their way. When they open their eyes, they realize the rocks were stopped and the attack was sabotaged by the Red People. The human master screams in anger at this betrayal. He directs the rocks toward them, but the man breaks them with his shield. She uses her magic to paralyze him completely and tells him she has been ordered to protect Dogchu under any circumstance. The students use this as an opportunity to run away and go straight to the office to report what they have seen. The human master, along with the other leaders of the Pure Colors group, is arrested for treason against the academy, stealing an artifact, bullying and threatening other students, and breaking a number of other human laws. They are made to walk in shame down the city road and are imprisoned for 1 semester. The students appear for their first part of the final exam and showcase everything they have learned throughout their classes. The little yellow teacher gives them their grades accordingly, and when he reaches Dogshu, he sees him exhausted and unable to perform any magic. The purple dragon tells him to rest his body for now and try again in the makeup exam to avoid any injury. The teacher gave him the same advice and told him not to worry too much since he had performed well in all the classes. Before coming for the exam, the masked man had met him and given him the magical device to use again. He lies awake in bed, thinking about everything that happened throughout the semester. Unable to get any sleep, he decides to get up and go for a walk to the hills, where he meets the masked man again. He follows him up the road, where they use the device to open up a magical space in order to find the Bai Ling Long. The spell creates a number of glowing symbols around them and brings out spirit guards that protect the palace. He uses his magic to trap them in special cases so that Dogshu can run inside. He finds a brightly glowing ball sitting on a stone slab, and after some hesitation, picks it up, but the power is too overwhelming, and his body lights up with yellow light shooting out of his eyes. When the wave of energy had passed, he looked for the green device, but it was missing. He runs out to find the masked guy and is again met with an empty hilltop. Since the final part of the exam was about to start, he left the hill and rushed to the exam center. The students have been assigned opponents that they must fight and win against in order to qualify for the positions of junior Yunmans. White Chicken uses his intelligence to defeat the opponent, while Ru uses brute strength. The fights continue and Dogshu arrives just as his name is called. He defeats his enemy with minimal effort and leaves the judges in awe of his extreme strength. They notice his flame is yellow instead of colorless, and as usual, he faints after the attack. They have no time to react as the wall bursts open and the Crow Man unleashes an attack on the students with his Mowu army. The teachers fight back as the students try to escape through an exit point. White Chicken tries to wake his friend up but is thrown back by the demon whose target is to capture him. Before he can pick up his body, the director of the academy blasts him back. The Taiwu guards arrive at the scene and surrounded most of the enemy. The Crowman transforms into a big ugly monster and fights the director, who, with his advanced expertise in magic and help from a Taiwu hero, bravely fights back. He tries to use Ru as a hostage to stop them from attacking, but he summons the vines to seize him, while the others blast him and bury him under a pile of rocks. The director makes his way to help Dogshu but is hit in the back by Wendy, one of the top teachers at the school. She reveals her true identity as the stepdaughter of the Demon King. Years ago, as a child, she entered the academy and gained their trust while constantly working on her plans to bring back the Dark Prince. She had spent years researching the clan and reading all their spells and tricks. Finally, she manipulated the masked man to trick Dogshu into releasing the seal that allowed the Demon King to take over his body. Her position allowed her to closely monitor all the activities of the academy and be prepared for any attack. Dogshu was still knocked out, his soul was back in the demon realm, only this time he had lost all his powers and was taken over by the Demon King. Using his body, he blasts the Taiwu guards away. The leader of the Pure Colors and other members of the Mowu clan arrive together. They transport themselves to an opening in the forest where the academy seal was broken. The Yunman fighters only have 4 hours to find them and rescue Dogshu before the Demon King takes control over the whole land. The evil group heads towards the abandoned temple grounds and takes his body inside to be placed on the sacred stone, allowing the Dark Prince to transform into human form fully. Dogshu's soul inside the body is still fighting against him, trying to slow down the process. The Mowu stand guard outside and are aided by the undead monsters that emerge from the walls. They fight fiercely against the enemy. He begins to lose himself as his body starts fading away and his strength grows weaker. Ru breaks into the temple and pushes through the dark forces to find his still body. After transforming back into a girl, she touches the mark on her forehead to his so she can join their consciousness and enter the other realm. Her appearance brings him back to reality, and together they are able to fight the Demon King and break his hold on his body, killing the Demon King once and for all. She also arrives at the battleground and uses her purification bells to kill some of the monsters before healing the director. He stands up and destroys Wendy with one strong explosion. With all of the Mowu clan defeated, Dogshu is taken back to the academy to rest and heal. The seals are set back in place, and the students eventually go back to their normal classes. Even though the Dark Prince was defeated, evil continues to lurk around the planet, so they must train and stay alert to fight whenever called upon.